Buongiorno. So first of all, thanks the World Business Forum for the invite. I'm less thankful for the time slot after lunch, but mostly because I'm the guy that is going to separate 2,200 innovators here to hear about innovation from one of the biggest innovator in the planet alive, that is Richard Branson. Anyway, so I have 1 hour before Richard, where I'm going to talk about design, branding, innovation, and why design today, to build brands and drive innovation, is more relevant than ever. And it all starts with the world, the society, what's going on in the society today. We live in a society that is radically changing just in the past few years. There are a variety of different driving forces that are at the center of this change. Internet, first of all, is creating what I like to define augmented awareness, global accessibility to knowledge. You don't know something, you take out this device, and you know everything about anything real time. Therefore, consumers are more savvy than ever, often spoiled. They know everything about anything, and you cannot fool them in any possible way. The global market is creating what I like to define global accessibility to purchase. Essentially, you go to a store, you still have those brands that you are used to in front of you, that you used to buy eventually for love, engagement, or eventually for convenience. But today you have additional choices that, once again, are given to you by this device. And therefore, a variety of different brands that used to compete with other brands in the same shelf or in the same context, all of a sudden start to compete with a variety of different brands without any boundary or geography of time anymore. And this is really changing the way you define your brands in relation to other competitors. Social media is really what is changing completely in just the past 5 years. The way people connect with brands, talk about brands, and share their experiences with brands. Nicolas Negroponte, that we saw earlier today, in the late 90s in Being Digital, was talking about this dream of this digital assistant. They will filter the variety of overwhelming information that you are bombarded with. Well, the digital assistant today is our social media, our social network. We have a variety of different peers, so people that we select and we choose in a variety of different networks, from LinkedIn to Instagram, Facebook, and more the new arriving social media like Snapchat, where essentially we have people that share the same interests, the same dreams, the same aspirations with us, and therefore they select those contents that are relevant for us and they amplify them for us. Brands, therefore, are part of a conversation, of a dialogue. They are not anymore one way, top-down, communicating to people a specific message that they decide, but they are the topic of the conversation among people. Me, as an individual, Mauro Porcini, I can promote, for instance, the World Business Forum with my design followers, with my design friends. I can tell them about my experience here. I can take this phone, take a picture. Actually, I'm going to do it. Let me take a selfie. Let's do this real time. We'll talk all about social media and how social media are changing brands. Do something that show that the business organizations, the business people are really excited, wave your hands. Wait. Okay, again, energy. Okay, so let's see how they're gonna react. I can endorse this forum in front of people that care about what I say. There are many people that don't care at all about what I say, but there are my followers and my friends that eventually don't understand the business world, my design peers, and I can be the one that connects a world with the other. More and more, brands need to connect with a variety of different people, from opinion leaders to normal people, that somehow become their brand ambassadors, the communicator of those experiences that they have with those brands and those products. And this is really changing everything. And today we'll talk essentially all about these new dynamics driven by social media. And then there is what I like to call the digitally enabled communication, entrepreneurship, and manufacturing. Essentially, the fact that you can build a brand, and then build a system of communication sitting in your living room without huge investment, leveraging, once again, the World Wide Web and social media. You can find investors in a relatively easy way through sites like Kickstarter.com, for instance, or anyway in a global hyper-connected world where it's much more easier to get in touch with people that can believe in your idea and invest in your idea. And manufacturing is becoming less and less expensive and more affordable. The arrival of 3D printing will change this once again, and therefore, this is creating a proliferation of a variety of different startups or different initiatives that once again are disrupting completely the competitive scenarios. We play in a world where we have so many new entrants every day, and many of them will die in 6 months, in 1 year, in 2 years. Some of them will resonate. They will be the big competitors of the future. But even those ones that will die, the summary of all of them are creating eventual challenges, problems for the relevance of your brand. And so it's so important to understand how to, when you work in a big corporation, compete with this kind of entrant. Be nimble, fast. Speed is becoming something that is more important than ever. And finally, what we call Internet of Things. Essentially, every product that surrounds us is becoming smarter and smarter and more connected. How this is going to change the way our products communicate with each other. I work in a food and beverage corporation. We'll have bottles that in the refrigerator we'll understand when the product is finished inside the bottle. We'll understand when the product is expired, and they will talk directly with the refrigerator or with a smart home. We reorder themselves. We'll suggest you how to pair, the drink with food, and so on and so forth. So how can we be on top of it and drive it and transform it in a competitive advantage today, thinking about where the future of the society is going? So all of this essentially is creating a world where people don't buy products anymore. They search holistic solutions, so not just a product, but a solution that is holistic, experiences that are meaningful to them and relevant to them, and essentially stories that are authentic. Consumers consume content at the speed of light. We are bombarded by content. We are bombarded by the new cell phone. We are bombarded by the new song, the new party, the new cola. There is always something new. The moment you receive something, there is something else that makes the news, that content, immediately obsolete. We are totally bombarded by content. And brands, once again, are the actors of this conversation. They are not talking to people anymore. They are, but they are less relevant than in the past in the conversation. It's people talking among each other about those brands. So the 3 key challenges of this new society are, first of all, we need to understand how to be relevant. And more than ever, we need to understand how to be relevant to people with a speed that is totally unexperienced. Everything is moving so fast that we cannot afford anymore the typical innovation process in sequence with different silos that one after the other connect with each other into the traditional processes of innovation. Everything needs to move faster and faster and faster and be more and more relevant. And finally, you need to build, once you identify your innovation, once you understand what is the product of the future, how to evolve your brands, how to build new brands, you need to understand how to build stories that are as authentic as ever. Relevance, speed, and authenticity are the 3 key main challenges that we are facing today, in general in the business world and in PepsiCo as a corporation, and that we are trying to tackle through design. So we say that people don't buy just products. They buy relevant experiences. So what is an experience? How do you design an experience? Well, an experience is the relation between people with a solution, could be a product, a brand, or a service, in a context, that most of the time we talk about the context of purchase and the context of use, in time. So an experience, by definition, is a story. A designer doesn't design a packaging, doesn't design a product. It's really about designing that experience. It's about designing what I like to call the practical journey that goes from the idea of purchasing something. So how can you influence that idea? Then you purchase it, you receive it, you unpack it, you use it, You store it, you dismiss it. If you think about the space, it could be the interior of a car, it could be a restaurant, or urban architecture is about the idea of going there. You see the space, you enter the space, you interact inside the space, you pass time, so you live inside the space, and finally you live from the space. So you need to define all of that journey across every touch point of the brand, from product to point of sales, to digital communication, traditional communication. Every point of sales in this journey is what we need to define and what we call the experience with a brand. So if that's the experience, how do you define the meaning of that experience? You know, one of the challenges is to be relevant. So how do you define a meaningful experience? Well, every time we interact with a product or a brand, it could be a luxury car or a luxury fashion brand or a mass market beverage brand. Every time we interact with any product or any brand, there are two layers of communications. The first one is you and the product. You and the brand. It's the sense of pleasure, of reassurance, of confidence that you have when you buy something. For the women in the audience, for instance, is when you buy a pair of Prada shoes or Louboutin shoes, and nobody even knows the brand. It's just the pleasure that you have in the purchase moment. For each of you, think about something that is so relevant for you, something that you love, the moment you buy it, and it's the pleasure of purchasing the thing and owning it. The second layer of communication is what that product or that brand is saying about you to others. So anything we have around us, my shoes today, my watch that doesn't tell the time, my jacket, my car, my office, my house, a tattoo, anything, my body language is telling a story to others. It's telling a story that we can curate eventually as people. We can curate or direct our own story. Often we are not able to, we are not aware of it. But when a designer tells you, well, we design the meaning of an experience, that's what they talk about. They talk about that relation that there is between you and the product and the brand, and then what that product and brand is telling about you to the rest of the world. If I walk on the street with a can of cola or a bottle of water, I'm communicating something already to the world about my mindset, my preferences, my lifestyle. If I decide to walk on the street with a brand of premium water versus a brand of low-cost entry-level water, I'm already saying something to the world. So again, anything, also things that you don't think about, tell a story about you every single moment. And that's what we want to design when we design these experiences with those brands. So if that's the case, if we want to design experiences and those experiences need to be meaningful, how do we design those experiences? What do we need to do to design those experiences? And here comes what I like to define the emotional flow. 3 steps of interaction that you have with people, with products, with brands, with context. These are my theories, my interpretation coming from the theories of a human scientist, Donald Norman, in emotional design, in the book Emotional Design. Is when you see a beautiful woman or a beautiful man or a beautiful place, and you're like, wow. It's the butterfly in your stomach, it's the first reaction. It's something that bypasses your rationality. It's in your guts. You see a product. It could be a special collection of 7-Up, vintage 7-Up. It could be a normal product, a cola or a Mountain Dew becoming premium. It could be a collection of Pepsi inspired by the world of emoji, where the product itself become a way of communicating your emotions, always thinking about social media, always thinking about those 3 steps of discovering something, owning it, and sharing it. Discovery, owning, and sharing. So it could be a Pepsi with emoji that become a way to communicate your emotions, that you can with a global approach that can become local on the basis of the different regions of the world where you are. An approach that is not just packaging driven, is not just product driven, but is a full ecosystem of products all the way to fashion accessories. This is a collection, for instance, of eyewear we designed with Jeremy Scott. We've been designing cars. We've been designing a variety of different things and events to create that experience at 360 degrees with the world of emoji. Essentially, is that connection you have with those cans of 7-Up or with those bottles of Pepsi emoji or those premium products that I showed you earlier. that give you a visceral reaction. You just love it, or eventually sometimes you hate it. But this that kind of visceral reaction is you arrive in front of the gate of the Met Stadium in New York City, and it's not anymore about communicating the functional features of your bottle, of your product, but is this culture that evoke the world of Pepsi without telling you anything about the product itself. Is a company like PepsiCo, they sponsor a variety of different events in the sport and music world, and is creating experiences around something like this that is a track that we designed with Karim Rashid, where you have culinary experiences with a full working kitchen, with digital machines that give you full mixology of drinks, so you can create a variety, thousands of different combinations of drinks customized by you. So you can have a culinary experience and then an experience that we can recraft, reimagine every time. This is linked to the world of music, to the world of sport, to the world of fashion, of art. This is something that moves from location to location in the United States, from Super Bowl to Coachella to a variety of different events in the different platforms where we activate. So once again, it's about creating, with different touch points of the brand, first of all, that visceral, emotional kind of experience. The second step is what I like to call the interactive relation. So going back to the analogy of our relation with people and spaces, is when you go out now with this woman or with this man, and you love to stay with them. It's rational and it's emotional. Is being in Australia on the Golden Coast, sunbathing and thinking about your friends in New York in the snow. Is rational and emotional. Is enjoying the moment, both with your brain and with your heart. Is when we design a machine like this one, the Pepsi Inspire, where essentially you choose a base. It could be an energy drink, a Gatorade, it could be a tea, it could be a water, it could be a cola, and then you add flavors, and once again you create thousands of different combinations. It's about creating that kind of emotional engagement. You want people to have fun and connect, and from far away to just be attracted by this machine and play with it, but in the meantime, you want to have speed of transaction. You want to have, rationally, from a business standpoint, you want this to move fast. So how do you balance, emotion and rationality, functionality and aesthetic in the perfect harmony, in the perfect balance in everything you do? This is what we've been trying to do in this machine, as well as in the complete portfolio of equipment we are designing around Pepsi. Is moving from customization. Mass customization is one of the mega trends. Now it's not even a new trend of the past 20 years, if you want, in every kind of field. So moving from customization in food service all the way to customization at home, partnering, for instance, with companies like SodaStream to customize your drink, carbonated water with different kind of flavors that we provide. Or it's taking it even to the next level. This is a new brand we created last year called Drinkfinity. We launched it in Brazil, and essentially is a bottle that you can refill with water, tap water on the go, and then you have these pods with dual chambers where you have a solid component and a liquid component. You put the pod on top of the bottle, you essentially open the chambers, you mix it with water, and you can have your customized drinks. Totally sustainable solution and totally focused on the world of health and wellness. And again, we can take that kind of approach of customization and moving it to the world of sports, the world of Gatorade. And I have a short video that shows you what we did, for instance, with the national team of soccer of Brazil around the world of customization, this time focus on athletes, leveraging new technologies, leveraging this different approach to define a drink for you, customized for you, in the world of professional soccer.
When Gatorade partnered with one of the world's top football clubs, the Brazilian national team, elite athlete service was elevated to an entirely new level. The Brazilian team opened the door, granting Gatorade scientists unprecedented access.
Together with the CBF team, we developed research on heat stress and dehydration to see how the body responds during exercise.
Each player received his own personalized bottle and customized product formulation. through the introduction of the Drinkfinity pods and the hydration tracking system.
Hoje, vários jogadores, quando vão para a seleção brasileira, cada um leva seus kits.
The player just comes with this pod that contains his specific formula, plugs it in, shake it, mix with water, and he's ready to go. This is the technology we are using. This bottle has a microchip in it that sends information in real time to the coach.
Gatorade added further support by providing the Brazilian team with their own fuel bar to access sports nutrition products, education, and insights. The partnership with the Brazilian national team represents a big step, but it's just the first step as elite athlete service grows on a global scale. Gatorade will expand the roster, working with more teams in a variety of sports. Emerging technology platforms will be leveraged as never before. Sports fuel personalization is the present and future vision. Improved athletic performance will always be the ultimate goal.
Or again, thinking about experiences and thinking about the world of beverage, this is a new experiment called Fizz, where we take carbonated soft drinks, CSD, that have been there, out there for many, many years, in a new world where you have so many new drinks, from energy drinks to juices, to the new role in society of alcoholic beverages, and trying to understand how, by building a comprehensive, holistic experience around the drink itself, you can recreate engagement, love, and excitement around carbonated soft drinks. Fizz essentially is an experience in a context where you have a base of sodas, and then you add a variety of different ingredients that you will see in a second in a video. And from the choice of the physiologists, the bartenders that create that kind of experience, to the vessel itself, the glass that becomes a sphere, to the environment, everything is designed to create an experience that, once again, people will discover, own, and share online. And we've been testing this idea at the Innovation Fair of New York, then at Super Bowl, recently, a month ago, in Milan during Design Week. And these experiments are a way to communicate about our brands, but in reality are also a way to test the ideas with opinion leaders, consumers, and customers, and build confidence in the organization that what we're doing is the right thing to do, or eventually tweak those ideas to then understand how to take them to retail and food service in our case. So this is a short video to tell you about Fizz.
So what is Fizz? It's a whole new way to look at soda.
This is not a drink, it's really an experience.
I'm excited to introduce you to the world of Fizz. Fizz is a whole new way of looking at soft drink mixology, which we like to call Fizzology.
They have these cool machines here called Pepsi Spires. They're already flowing now. What were you feeling? Batter up. Batter up. Then you take it over to these Fizzologists. These guys are taking the most unexpected flavors and creating the most imaginative drinks you can possibly imagine. Check it out.
They're loving getting to interact with it, what goes into it that makes it, watch something be created, and then get to consume it.
It was nice to see it made in front of your eyes. You got to do it and then eat what you made.
I love it. Really innovative.
Awesome.
It was just cool to see it all come together.
My favorite part was watching them put all the toppings.
A delicious drink.
Having a great taste.
I love it. I love the flavor.
Fizz is not just a drink, it's an experience.
It's been a really exciting day so far. As you can see, we're really flowing now.
3, 2, 1. Or thinking about the future of colas. This is a new brand we launched about 1 year ago of a totally natural cola made of sparkling water, cane sugar, and cola nut extract. Again, is the product and the overall experience across the full ecosystem, including, for instance, what is going to happen when you mix it with alcoholic beverages, food service, all the way to fountains, and the full ecosystem of products around the brand. So once again, interactive relation, emotional and rational relation with a product. The third one is what I call the expressive relation. So going back to the analogy of people and spaces, you like so much to go out with this woman and this man that you want to share the experience with your friends or with your family. You are back from vacation, you share the pictures of your vacation with everybody. Is the very nature of social media like Facebook or Instagram. It's about sharing, being proud of something, and then sharing that experience with people, spaces, products, and brands. This is, for instance, the summer of soccer during the Soccer World Cup a couple of years ago. We took the different soccer players that we had around the world, that we are sponsoring around the world. In this case, is Messi. Danny Clinch, the famous music and fashion photographer, took black and white portraits of the different soccer players. And then we had street artists from the different regions of the different soccer players in a live performance in London, painting over the gigantic photography. That became our campaign for the summer. And then we took that art and we translated art in a variety of different products. We created different kind of partnership with brands like Del Toro shoes, Penguin jackets, Bang & Olufsen headphones, Shad skateboard, and so on and so forth, creating a full portfolio of products where the Pepsi brand was the endorser, was the facilitator of that kind of experience, but it was not there on your face. It was all about that art that was connected to our brand in our campaign. So once again, an holistic experience, once again, thinking about social media and the idea of owning, discovering, owning, and sharing. The same we're doing, for instance, by sponsoring Fashion Week in Shanghai, or creating collaborations, for instance, like in this case with Nike, to create the shoes of Uncle Drew. If you don't know what Uncle Drew is, Google it, Pepsi Max, Uncle Drew, and you will see what I'm talking about. Or tap into pop culture kind of events or memories, like the movie Back to the Future 2.
You go by the special.
When you enter the bar.
All I want is a Pepsi.
And that's for a Pepsi free, and the bartender is like, we don't have Pepsi free, what are you talking about? And here arrived Pepsi Perfect. We redesigned Pepsi Perfect, we launched it that day for Michael J. Fox was the 21st of October of 2015. So on the 21st of October of 2015, we launched Pepsi Perfect. The price was $20.15. And with a full ecosystem of different experiences, with a series of licensing products, it's been a huge, huge success, sold out in few seconds, literally, in Amazon. Bottles, we found bottles for $400 few hours after. This is few months after at $99 online. What is interesting, I think, is that there is not even the cola inside. We sell colas, and they were selling the bottle. The power of packaging, or anyway, an experience connected to something that is in the heart of people and relevant to people. All the way to the idea of a cola house is something we are creating in New York. We're about to open it. It's a space where you will have an experience with colas. So you will have a series of cocktails, alcoholic and non-alcoholic, based on cola nuts. So they won't taste like cola. They will be based on this natural ingredient inside the colas to story tell about colas. And then there will be a series of experiences connected to the world of Pepsi and the world of our interpretation of the cola world that is always connected to music, art, fashion, and sports. So a variety of different events that will go on, that will happen in this physical location. And once again, this is something that wouldn't make sense 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but in the society of social media, discovery, owning, and sharing, this is as relevant as ever. You can do an event in a physical location, in a specific moment, and then social media can amplify millions and millions of time and eventually become for sure more relevant than any TV advertising, and often of big media events that attract hundreds of millions of people. Once again, because these kind of experiences are so authentic because are driven by people. And Cola House is also something that is modular, is a modular experience that we bring from event to event. One of the latest where we brought Cola House is Super Bowl. And I will show you a short video where you will see many of the products that I shared with you until now. Super Bowl is not anymore the Pepsi halftime show and the big TV advertising, but there's many, many things that now happen around the event for the full week of Super Bowl that once again, because of social media, are becoming more and more relevant. So we're launching new products, testing new experiences, creating partnerships in the world of fashion, music, sport, art, to create a kind of conversation around the brand that is culturally relevant and is making our brands as relevant as possible, meaningful as possible. This is what we did at Super Bowl. This is the Pepsi Halftime Show. This is what we did at Super Bowl a few months ago. Digital art, always connected to social media. So you could tweet and create your own art. Big music celebrities from Pharrell to Red Hot Chili Peppers to a variety of different interpreters. This is the San Francisco Stadium. It's not anymore about splatting your brands everywhere. This is the local artist creating his local art installation, permanent installation. And now you're gonna see a series of products, branded experiences that I showed you earlier that we activate during Super Bowl. From Fizz, the Pepsi truck, the world of Tostitos and snacks, again connected to local artists. Infinity. Pepsi Moji. So again, we use these events to create communication, to create buzz, to create engagement, but also to experiment with new ideas. We always bring something that is different, is new, and we monitor the reaction and we try to learn from it. It's a different way of doing consumer research that goes in parallel with more traditional methodologies. And I will tell you in a second why this is so important and so relevant today. But essentially, going back to the 3 steps I just described, the visceral, interactive, and expressive, every time I talk about this, people react because it's our human nature, it's what we feel every day, the way we interact with people. There is a business perspective, a business value associated to each of these 3 steps. If you have the visceral one, there is a high probability you're going to create emotional impulse purchase. You go with a list of things to buy in a store, and then you get out with a variety of different things that were not in your list just because you fall in love with them when you experience them. The interactive one is emotional satisfaction and loyalty. It goes beyond the rational one. It's line of people outside of an Apple store to buy an Apple Watch or an iPad, even before they ever experienced it, ever saw it, because there is that emotional connection and loyalty towards the brand. The expressive one is communication and spontaneous PR, is word of mouth, is people proud of being associated to your brands and becoming your best ambassador, your best authentic ambassador. If you want to simplify, this is about purchase, repurchase, and recommend. Or if you go back to the user perspective, to people, we design for people, this is about the wow effect you have in front of a new product, a new brand, is the engagement that you have with them, and finally, the pride of being associated to them. This is what we search every time we build an experience with our products and brands, the existing ones and the one of the future. Always trying to reach an authentic experience, and authenticity is reached through consistency across every touch point of the brand and across every geography of the world. These are the 2 big challenges that we have. In the past, where the brands were not on stage 24/7, Pepsi may have a behavior when it's Walmart or Carrefour, a different behavior when it's in the hands of Beyoncé, or where it is when we have an experience at Milan Fashion Week. Today, we need to have a consistent experience across every touch point because we are on stage 24/7. And Pepsi needs to behave in a consistent way, but locally relevant, if it is in Japan, in Australia, in Italy, or in the United States. How to create that authenticity, that consistency, but then being locally relevant. How to have what we like to call a glocal approach is really the challenge today. We need to move more and more from the bottom of this pyramid from utilitarian needs, usability, reliability, functionality, where a brand like Pepsi competes with other colas, is carbonation, is level of sugar, is flavors, up to what we call the demand spaces, is the pleasurability and the convenience of the experience, is where a brand like Pepsi starts to compete with other products eventually. You know, you can drink a Pepsi during a meal, or you can drink an alcoholic beverage or a water. So this is really about the convenience and the pleasure of that experience. And then moving it up, and this is not intuitive at all, moving it up to the world of the brand spaces, to the world of dreams, aspiration. That's where your brand transcends the product. That's where a brand like Pepsi eventually starts to compete with Apple, with Nike, with Red Bull. When you start to mean something in the society, stand for something, and people want to be associated with you, with your brand, and when you have that power, then you can transcend the product itself and expand, stretch your portfolio eventually in other territories and find also new revenue streams. And Apple, for instance, has been an amazing example of this. Red Bull is another amazing example of this. So you can apply this kind of approach to the today world of the brands that you have in your portfolio, but also to the future. We're working with this kind of approach on the future of water, of energy, of mass customization in retail, of products, retail 2.0, and so on and so forth. One example out of many, this video is telling you how we think, for instance, the future of Gatorade.
The future. It's not an inheritance. It's an opportunity. For Gatorade, the opportunity is clear. Push the sports fuel ecosystem further to support the athlete of tomorrow. In the future, NFL players wear sweat patches, sending real-time fuel data and hydration tracking to team trainers through sideline carts. Access to technology goes well beyond the lab. Athletes instantly receive specific feedback, no matter where they work out. G-Camps dive deeper through on-field testing, measuring hydration, glycogen, and electrolyte levels. Wearable technology transmitting wirelessly allows trainers to analyze data and provide direct feedback. Knowing their specific sweat rate and type of sweat, athletes choose their formula using the Gatorade fuel pods and the intelligent hydration bottle. Before training, athletes receive alerts detailing the intensity, weather conditions, and duration of the upcoming practice. They're also provided with a strategy for fueling, before, during, and after workouts. During training, the hydration tracking system instantly tells athlete and trainer about fuel input and output. To replenish their supply, athletes get their Gatorade fuel pods from intelligent vending machines. Monthly supplies of Gatorade fuel can be ordered online or through premium retail doors. From awareness to tracking to delivery, every aspect of the sports fuel ecosystem will be connected. Every step in the process will be seamless. After 50 years of fueling athletes, the best is still yet to come. Gatorade, defining the future of sports fuel.
Now, it all seems easy and intuitive and simple. In reality, as you can imagine, to embed this different kind of approach to brand building and innovation is not an easy challenge in an extremely successful company of more than $60 billion of revenue and 300,000 people around the world. There are multiple challenges, and I will literally fly through 3 of the many challenges that we may find trying to embed this kind of approach in this kind of companies. The first one is the fact that one of the biggest problems of many companies when dealing with innovation is risk management, is management of mistakes and therefore risk. So design can play a role in this, a role extremely important. If you think about design thinking, so design is the output, is what you sell, but it's also the thinking. You may have heard this word so many times now, design thinking. What is design thinking? Well, it's the connection between empathy, strategy, and prototyping. Empathy is about understanding people with a different kind of sensitivity, typical of the creative world. Strategy is about translating those insights coming from empathy into a business strategy connected to the equity of your brand, the business model, your customer relation, and so on and so forth. And then what really makes the difference is the ability to prototype. Essentially, when you have an idea, right away, create something that people can experience, can touch, can feel, and can share. What is the value of prototyping? Prototyping is really what makes design essential and relevant in this society where we want to reach relevance, speed, and authenticity. You remember the challenges that I mentioned earlier. So the first value of prototyping is alignment, is the power of visualization. Somebody has an idea in the team. It could be somebody from R&D, from insights, from manufacturing, your assistant. You have an idea, and immediately you visualize it. It's a mock-up, it's a sketch, it's a video. It's something that aligns people around that idea. If I say, for instance, right now, knife, each of you will have a different idea of a knife. But if I sketch a knife, now we are all aligned around that idea. So how many times you are in a meeting and everybody's aligned, think they are aligned around an idea, they get out of the meeting and they all go in different directions. So alignment is very important. Without any boundaries of time and space, you can create something and share it with people in different parts of the world or in the hierarchy of your organization. The second value is progressive iteration. Essentially, now I have my knife, and the R&D person in the room can tell me eventually that the blade is not sharp enough. The ergonomist will tell me that the handle is not comfortable enough. The marketer will tell me that the brand is not visible enough. Those are not mistakes of the designers. That's what design thinking is about. Essentially, all of a sudden, I'm empowering everybody in the team, everybody in the company, all the different functions to work in parallel instead of in sequence, to contribute, to co-create. I can take it all the way to customers and consumers, or opinion leaders and experts. So outside of the company, and we co-create together. Now I modify the knife. Is interaction, different kind of loops, progressive, to evolve the quality of that idea. And finally, is what I like to call the power of the shiny object. Before being CEOs of companies or investors, we are human beings, and we love things. We love to play with these toys, with these shiny objects. So every time you try to get sponsorship, engagement from your CEO, from your top executives, from an investor for your startup, go there with something that can feel, touch, experience. This is gonna unlock, first of all, engagement, second, sponsorship, then most of the time, funding. Especially for people that have so many different things, they're bombarded with proposals of new things. You go there with something that can touch and feel is so, so powerful. Now, prototyping, connected with empathy and strategy, led by design in collaboration with the business world, always in partnership and co-leadership, create, first of all, efficiency, drive speed, and increase really the speed in the process in a society where today you really need to move fast. So having all the different functions moving in parallel, working in parallel, instead of in sequence, is so important. So first is efficiency by increasing speed. Is efficiency by decreasing cost. By definition, you move faster with internal resources in a very integrated way. This reduces cost. You drive quality because all of a sudden you really enable all the different functions in-house and outside to contribute, and this increases the quality during the process. And finally, you generate new forms of insight and validation. It's not anymore the traditional methodologies of validation of your ideas, but all of a sudden you are engaging people, experts in different disciplines, and you leverage their insights to increase the quality of your product. Now, the ultimate output of all of this is that you increase the confidence in the organization that what you're doing is the right thing to do. We have many, many examples of prototypes. For instance, experiences where we took an event in different kind of context. For instance, Cola House and Milan Design Week last year, where we got the kind of feedback, the kind of interaction that let us tweak the idea, but mostly build confidence in the organization that what we were doing was the right thing to do, and then go to market. This is so important because the second challenge that we have, the second big, big challenge that we have, is how to understand people and validate the ideas that we have. And traditional methodologies are failing. This is one of my favorite charts that I've been sharing now for 15 years. Is the prehistoric man that invented the wheel. And he goes to his prehistoric consumer focus group, consumer research people, and they're like, oh, we love your original concept, but just to be on the safe side, we ran it past the focus group. So we took your wheel and we squared it down. Now, the amount of material is the same. There is a hole anyway in the middle, but consumer told us that if you are not squaring it down, the wheel could run away, could be dangerous. So we just tweak it a little bit, but more or less the concept is there. How many times we saw it, you take packaging, product, and you think you're just tweaking it because consumers are telling you to tweak it, and you're totally killing the idea. The problem is, what is the drama? You don't even realize it. So now you go to market, you fail miserably, and then your consumer inside people go back to you, innovator, designer, creative business leader, and they're like, you see, we tried to help you, we squared the wheel, but not even not even with that kind of modification, it's been successful in the market. So once again, innovation. Nicolas earlier today was talking about progressive iteration, incrementality, kill creativity, kill innovation. Is so important to listen to your consumers. Somebody was thinking I was against consumer research. Consumer research is something that you study the first year of design school. It's so important. Listen to your consumers. The only thing is don't believe them. So, and what I mean is listen, interpret, understand what they tell you, but then act as a leader, as a business leader and as a brand leader. This is that balance between the insights and then understanding how to act on those is really what makes a difference. The last challenge, and I leave you with this, is that we can talk about processes. Often when you talk about design thinking, there are books written about design thinking as a process. The reality is that what makes the difference is not the process. The process is a tool. It's like a pen or a brush on the hands of my nephew or on the hands of Andy Warhol or Michelangelo. The output is very different, right? So what makes the difference is people. No matter if you are a designer or if you are going to engage with creative people, you're going to hire them, you're going to work with them. It's so important to find creative talents that have an approach to creativity that is holistic. And again, if you hire designers, often they are in silos themselves, graphic designer, industrial designer, architects. So finding leaders that can really move across all the different phases of design, that are business savvy so they can talk with you and connect with you and work together with you. That's another big challenge for our community. That are visionary, that can think about the future, but then are also concrete and they can act. Another challenge often for our community, that are entrepreneurial. If they were not inside your company, they would be out there doing something else, because that's so important when you try to drive innovation in corporations or in businesses that are not used to your culture and your approach. And finally, that are design thinkers. What is a design thinker? Well, it's an entire paper that I wrote on this specific topic for the Design Management Institute review that you can find online. But essentially, these are the key characteristics. They're visionary and intuitive and abductive. They are elegant in the process. It's the perfect balance between the different components to create the perfect solution. They're polyglot and storytellers. They're not just in the silos of design, but they're able to talk with manufacturing, with marketing, with consumer insights. They trust their guts. They're intuitive. They're dialectical. They thrive in the mix of all the different disciplines and the connection and facilitation of all the different words that move around the world of innovation. And finally, they're in love. In the business world, you often hear the word customer satisfaction. What do you do to satisfy a customer? Well, you do everything is possible to fulfill a specific need. But when you love somebody, could be your kids, your mom, your husband, or your wife, you try to do more. It's the magic, it's the unexpected, it's the surprise. This is what drives a design thinker and innovator, is to protect the magic, that unexpected, all the way through the process, all the way to the product, when, no matter the manufacturing problems, the feasibility constraints, the cost constraints, the time constraints, protect the love and take the risk to take the love all the way to our consumers. In terms of behaviors, they're curious. They love diversity. They listen with humility. It's so easy when you become successful, when we arrive to executive position, to stop listening. Listening is so important, but it's also so important to be able then to be confident and act and take decision and take risk, not just listen and be paralyzed in the act of listening. Be resilient and optimistic, because if you drive innovation, you will face roadblocks every time. If you don't face roadblocks, you're not driving innovation. Always in quest, always hungry, always going the extra mile. If everybody is going for 100, set for yourself every single time 110. Very few will arrive to 100, but if you achieve 110, you will be the only one on top up there. And finally, be aware, self-conscious, and smile and have fun, because at the end of the day, this is a big game, and we should have fun in what we do every day. If you want to go home with just one idea of this almost 1 hour of speech, is that design is not about the shape of a product, it's not packaging, it's not product, it's not an architecture, it's really a way of thinking of a company and therefore of people. Thank you.
Now, we've only got time for 2 quick questions, just in the interest of keeping on track for our next speaker. But Mauro, thank you for a wonderfully entertaining, but more importantly, fantastic experience. A question that's come from the audience is, we've seen some of the experiments that you've sort of designed and done. How do we amplify that so more people and, you know, the masses can actually experience some of the things that you've tested and trialed?
Well, it's all about how relevant are those experiences, where you do them, in what kind of context, and making them accessible to people so that they can essentially take those experiences and sharing them in social media. So the ability to work with, for instance, agencies that are experts in managing social media, in managing content, and then doing something that really makes sense for them and doing it in an authentic way. So this is really, I think, the biggest challenge, that you cannot fool people. You need to be real. I think what people is really liking of what we're doing at PepsiCo, we had so many positive feedbacks, for instance, at Milan Design Week a few weeks ago, is that you feel that this is real, that is authentic, that we're really driven by this. It's not about purchasing something from an agency because, you know, you understand that design now is trendy. Yes. It's really at the core of what we do.
So tell me, when do we get the opportunity in Australia to have one of your PepsiCo experiences here?
Actually, we're working on something that I cannot really reveal, but pretty soon, in a few months, we'll do something in Australia.
And a brand outside PepsiCo and 3M where you've worked, a brand that you sort of think is doing design thinking really well?
I think, well, I mean, the obvious answer is obviously Apple, but I think Target in the United States, the retailer, is doing something very, very interesting. And a variety of different entities in the retail and the food service world are going in that direction. But I think Target has been really the first one embracing design and driving it in the DNA of the company.
So look, everyone, in the interest of time, can you please join with me in thanking Mauro for a wonderful presentation, rich with content.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.